This is Jeff White with Life and Living Now and Versatile Fighting Arts. And today I want to talk a little bit about deep breathing. When we're doing our Qigong in our classes, in our instructions, you hear me always say, breathe deeply, breathe through the nose, breathe deeply, diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, so that you should feel your belly move out more so than your chest. And during meditation, we'll focus on our breath. Usually I would teach that to beginners because it's easier than just focusing on the inside around the mind, which is what I recommend. But initially, if you're first getting started, then the breath is the bridge between mind and body. So learning how to take these deep breaths becomes important. It's for a number of reasons. One is very centering, it's very calming. And as soon as you begin to notice those deep breaths, you begin to see the benefit of them. However, we also want to take that through our day as well. And I teach in the Six Gates meditation that focusing on your breath and on your body and where you are is a good way to bring an instant sense of centering. And that deep breathing will do that every single time. Now, when do we stop? How do we get away from deep breathing? As a child, that's all we really know. It tends to be what we do. I read an interesting study recently that said about age 5.5, then children begin to do more chest breathing rather than belly breathing. We'll notice that whenever we begin to, when you're stressed out, you begin to breathe more from your chest. If you find yourself with your shoulders raised when you breathe, it's incorrect. It's shallow air using muscles that were only designed to be auxiliary muscles to help you breathe, but instead you're using those as the primary breathing muscles. So you're not getting in the full inhalation and therefore also not a proper exhalation as well. So when we sit, say when we're doing Qigong or meditation, if we're doing Qigong, we're typically standing up. And what I recommend is that you kind of tuck your tailbone in slightly, almost like pointed just towards the ground. Don't bring it in too severe, you'll create extra tension on your lower back, and that's antithetical to what we're doing. Just point it, just tuck it in slightly as if you're pointing your tailbone to the ground. The second is you want to almost elongate your spine. So imagine there's a piece of rope, a string, tied to your head, and it's pulling your spine up, your head up. Your chin will be tucked in a little bit. Now when you make those adjustments, see how more deeply you can breathe, how much more air you can take in. And remember, we're breathing as if we're breathing out of our belly. Your belly should actually move, all right? And as you begin to do this, first thing you'll notice is how much extra breath that you can get. You will also notice an immediate calming effect as well, which is important because we'll use that for almost this instant centering, not in a rushed way or a panic or a despair way, because sometimes we just go, but no, it's now instantly calm. One of the things that you can do during one of my Qigong courses, the Buddhist monk, the first thing he did was have everybody just breathe in. Now you can put your hand right around your navel and the other hand around your chest, and you want to breathe and fill your lungs up as if you were filling from belly, mid-chest, chest. In fact, you actually want to feel the ribs expand and moving those intercostal muscles. So you can put a hand on your belly, put a hand on your heart, and breathe in. You should be able to feel your belly move out. My ribs start to expand. And then raise the head just a little bit as if you're sipping in air at the top. So I can take in no more air than I've got it packed. And then as you exhale, reverse that. Top of chest, mid-chest, belly. In this case, you can squeeze all the air out and reverse breathe again. You will find, typically, you'll find if you're properly breathing, your belly, your hand in your belly will move out more. You'll feel your ribs start to expand. And if you don't at first, then we have something we're going to work on to help with that as well. And your chest should not necessarily expand a whole lot, but you should have that feeling like I can't take any more air in, I can feel it. What we often do is just keep our breath somewhat shallow. So we're not really getting a good intake of air. We're not getting a good, that mix of carbon dioxide that's carrying waste away. So we want to have longer breaths. When we're sitting, say in meditation, one of the reasons they may choose a lotus posture, or if you're sitting in cross-legged like I like, then sit on, I'm sitting on a little pillow so my hips are somewhat raised. Usually I like to have my hips a little bit farther up than my knees or on lip. Right now with this chair, I'm just sitting in my office at home. I'm in the corner. I could use an extra pillow, but I can also just adjust my back as well. But just make those little adjustments and see how much more volume you can bring in, how much better that you breathe. So if I slump, I feel it stop almost right here. If I'm too rigid, military, now this is almost all chest breathing, and I can't seem to access my diaphragm or intercostals. Just not much. So I don't want to be rigid. I don't want to be slumped. Natural position. Try looking up and breathing, and then try tucking your chin just a little bit, and just see if it doesn't feel like a little bit better flow of air. Now you're not always going to walk around with your chin tucked down, but when we're sitting in meditation, and as I focus on my breath, nice, deep, diaphragmatic breathing. I want to feel that belly come out. Now, and this is not going to be a talk on meditation, but what happens during that meditation is you're focusing on your breath because that's your anchor point. You're breathing in life and energy, and you're expelling, on the exhale. When you're doing all this, it's easy. We use that breath as a way to give you a focus. Eventually, I'll ask you to discard the attention on the breath and move the attention to the third eye. But for right now, is when you get started, focus on your breath. Now, eventually you'll end up thinking about your breath. So when that happens, just let it go. Now, sometimes things will happen, whether we're standing in a standing meditation where we're moving through Qigong, whether we're doing seated meditation or following my breath. As I mentioned, the mind will start being active because it's accustomed, instead of being a tool to be used, it's accustomed to thinking it's in charge because we've allowed it to be and we have believed it has been. But the truth is, we are the thinker of our thoughts. We are spirits. We have a soul. We use our mind. It's a tool for us to use to navigate in this plane, in this world. So, focus your breath. When the mind begins to run, just watch it. Let it go. Give yourself grace. But what's interesting is notice if there's tension in your mind, in your body, in your breathing. And if you notice it, just put your attention on it. Don't judge it. Don't be critical. Just be attentive. Sometimes when I do this, I'll notice that there is a tension in my mind. I'll be breathing. Okay, I'm thinking about breathing. I'm breathing, but something just feels a little tense in my mind. And I just allow myself to let it go, put my attention on whatever that is, on that feeling. And sometimes this is muscles in my face, which usually are just rather calm, but I'll sense them tense. And I'll just let it go. Lots of us will carry our stress right under that, in my case, that right scapula. And sometimes you can feel that really just kind of tense up. And for me, normally it's when I'm pushing things away and I'm not allowing them to express and to be, and it builds up over time. And so I found that when I breathe in meditation, I just put my attention on that scapula. Sometimes it may feel tighter over towards my shoulder. I put my attention there. Just by placing my attention in my breath, then I begin to feel it those knots begin to unwind. Now what happens also is I begin to relive some of the stress. And the key is, don't get attached to it. Don't run down that rabbit hole again. Let it go. All right? Just be aware and say, oh, that's what was causing that. The temptation is going, but she deserved it, or he said this. Let it all go. Let it all go. Just be attentive. You are the witness at this point. Just be the witness and let it go. You'll notice it, over time, it'll begin to heal on its own. But back to the breath. Begin to notice things that hinder your breathing. Hinder that deep diaphragmatic breathing. I was talking to some friends and students after we had a class the other day. And I said, what I'm suggesting to everybody is to, as you go through your day, pay attention to the deep diaphragmatic breathing. We tend to focus on it when we're in our Qigong or meditation because that's proper. However, there's also proper to use that breath throughout the day. So for the next minimum of 30 days, preferably 90 days, I want you as often as you can, just remind yourself to breathe. And you'll catch when little things happen. It's little things. All of a sudden I'll start to shave and realize, okay, I'm holding my breath. Okay, breathe. Now it's going to feel a little forced at first because it is. You are forcing yourself with these deep diaphragmatic breathing. So this deep belly breathing, when you normally wouldn't. You're walking around and you begin to see, okay, while I'm walking, I'm using oxygen and air. So am I going to have that deep breathing? The answer is yes, try it. Try it with, if you work out, try with working out. I've worked out for years and it was, on the exhale, it was 1, 2, and that was that effort of, focus. Exhalation gave us extra strength. We do that in our martial arts. It's very true. However, let's change that a little bit and still keep your counting, but don't worry about the inhale and the exhale. Just 1, 2, inhale, exhale, and you go at the speed. At first, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel like you're out of breath. But quickly, I have found that it begins to adapt. Now, the more active you are, if I'm running, if I'm doing heavy weight workouts, things like that, it takes extra training. But even just walking around, then I find that all of a sudden, my breath will shorten. When I first started doing this, I said, oh, my breath is more in my chest. Deep belly breathing. Deep belly breathing. Now, as we begin to a little bit more advanced, instead of just using the diaphragm, so the belly will push out, you'll get more air, and you want to start using also these intercostal muscles. Now, sometimes we would stand and we would put hands in just under the ribs and make sure that you would breathe so that your hands would expand. And by doing so, then you know that you're engaging your diaphragm. Now move up, so you're more on your ribs and more in the intercostals, and then breathe in, and instead of pushing all the way out, you're going to push down. Imagine your diaphragm is this domed muscle that sits under your lungs and it flattens. And that's what kind of creates this bellow. So I also want to be able to breathe where I feel my ribs cage start to expand. Don't move your shoulders. If you find yourself wanting to go, stop, don't do that. If you want, instead, keep your shoulders down. And you can see I'm up in my rib cage, and the rib cage starts to expand. So practice that. Take that into your day as you begin to walk around, as you're sitting at work, as you're talking to somebody. Breathe. Just remember deep diaphragmatic breathing. One of the immediate events, one of the immediate benefits that you will see will be that sense of calm. I teach this and use this as a way for very centered, how to get centered very calm, very quickly, and create this calm. It engages your parasympathetic nervous system. You have a vagus nerve that runs down by your spine into your gut. As you're doing this deep breathing, it triggers your body into this calm sensation. So now you're more centered. And now I'm more moving from heart. I'm moving more towards spirit. And just by focusing on that breath, we begin to stop the thoughts, the automatic thoughts in our mind. So those automatic loops and thoughts and all those associative memory responses that just happen automatically, they have a small little space for a pause at first. And over time, you'll create that space. But you use that and you'll find yourself, you'll be more calm in situations where you would not have been. And just remember, now the key is remember to breathe during those periods of time and still stay alert and active, but remember to breathe. When you walk, breathe. Notice when your breathing changes and what you can do to go back to relaxed breathing and diaphragmatic breathing. And just note it, just be aware, be fascinated. That's the whole thing, be fascinated, be curious. All of this is a journey, and that really is how I've looked at it. And when I found at times over the course of years and decades of working with my mind and becoming better in personal and self-development, business development, you got to go through all these stages. And I have found one of the best things to create that sense of calm is to breathe. Just breathe deeply. And it gives me that space before the reaction, so now I can give a nice response. But pay attention to what it does to you, to how it connects with the deeper parts of you. And those are the parts that you want to lead with, not the reactive part of our minds. That's based on conditions and our beliefs and our perspectives, which may or may not always be based in reality. But the deeper parts of us, where we already know, when we connect with those parts that are more central to our being, our spirit, and our deep levels of our soul, then we already know that's where peace is. That's where contentment and joy is. That's where my calm lives. So let's stay there. Now when I need to engage something else, I am still nice and calm. When we teach martial arts, as we were talking this past weekend at a seminar, I still want you to move with intent. And not anger, but with intent. But it comes from a different place that actually is more relaxed. It's more in harmony. So there's less need at times for altercations, but if it's going to happen, then we do still have the skills. But that's a different topic than what we're talking about today. Today was, how can you use this breath? Become aware of diaphragmatic breathing. Become aware of trying to use your diaphragm and more advanced, of feeling as you breathe that air in and you expand. See if you can find areas, say, now I want to feel like I can push the air towards my back. Obviously you're not pushing air towards your back, but you are adjusting that diaphragmatic muscle. It also helps support your spine. So you're beginning to work this muscle, and that's because it is a muscle. The more that you work it, then the more flexible it will become. It does not have the same sensors that the rest of it, your muscles may have, with being sore from a workout the next day. It doesn't have the same sensors as I understand it. But you want to be able to breathe in deep, send it out to the sides, create this space. Breathe out, exhale. You can exhale. Usually if you're doing this and you're walking, it's fine to exhale through your mouth. Usually if we're doing something in meditation, or most often in Qigong, it's breathing, inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, unless I'm releasing energy, and then I'll exhale in my mouth. But don't make it too complicated. Focus on just the deep inhale and the exhale and see how it feels. Join us if you like these talks in this video. Life and Living Now is dedicated to improving your quality of life now, and using Qigong and meditation, and we'll have other talks on other things as well. But like us on YouTube. We're working on having a Saturday morning Qigong class. It's all free, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, where I am. I guess that would be 8 Mountain and Pacific. Just send email to lifeandlivingnow@gmail.com if you would like to be part of be sent a link for the Qigong classes in the morning on Saturday mornings. If not, check us back here. We'll be adding content in, and we hope that does well. I'd love to hear from you. You can either put in comments, the things that would help, or email me at lifeandlivingnow@gmail.com, and I'm Jeff.